refuse to lose. I'm built to win. Applied myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win. Yeah. Refuse. Mine it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like Toby, keep on running toes, they gon' take a few to lose. Built to win, applied myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win. Yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win. Applied myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win. Yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back to C2C. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back with another episode. And today we are going over the round of 64 just for today. Now I know it's super early, brackets lock at noon today, but I got things I got to do today, this morning, and I don't know if I'm gonna be back in time to get it out. So I have to go early. Rather get it to y'all early than not get it to y'all at all. Also, real quick, so yesterday we had a horrible day yet again in the tournament. I'm actually 0-4. I went 0-4 in the round of 68. Just the round of 68 continues to be my Achilles heel in the tournament. Now, 5-3, our wins were one of them should have been Utah Valley. Terrible execution down the stretch. But again, same thing with Cal Baptist. So why am I surprised? But our wins were Dayton. Who shout out to Dayton, got robbed of a home game due to the first four being in Dayton, Ohio. So they had to travel to Bradley, even though they were the team that was supposed to have the home court advantage. Still got it done. Our wins were Cal, who beat UIC. Another win was Nevada beating Murray State. Another win was Wake Forest beating Navy. And our last win was I can't remember right now, but I know our losses were Kent State absolutely got dominated by Illinois State. Another loss we had was again the Utah Valley game, and our last loss was St. Joe's over Colorado State. We picked Colorado State, but I told y'all to take St. Joe's plus the points because I knew there was a chance St. Joe's could possibly win that game. I can't remember my fifth win yesterday. It's kind of irritating me. They had to play at 8:00. Let me flip back my notebook, see if I can find it. It was New Mexico. New Mexico blew out Sam Houston. But anyway, let's move on. So the NIT is doing us great. We're 11-5 in the NIT. Round of 68, like I said, did us terrible. But we'll move on to the round of 64, where we're going to start with TCU versus Ohio State. Now, TCU is the 9 seed taking on 8 seed Ohio State. First game to kick off the tournament. It is at 12:15 on CBS. Ohio State's actually favored in this game. Well, I did these last night, literally after my show. So odds may have changed. So let me take a look at that real quick. But as of right now, as you're looking on my ticker right now, as FanDuel is loading, they are 2.5-point favorites. They are still 2.5-point favorites. Okay, so that has not changed. Now, I'm going to go with the lower seed first, then the higher seed. So TCU, they're led by David Punch, averaging 14.3 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, 1.3 steals, and 2.1 blocks per game. Xavier Edmonds, averaging 12.6 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, and 1 steal. And Jaden Pierre, averaging 10.5 points per game and 1 steal per game. Now, their X factor to me, they're, like I said in previous shows, TCU has the size of Ohio State. So Brock Harding is going to have to do a good job in facilitating the ball to guys like Pierre to knock down a three. Xavier Edmonds is going to have to do his own, but I think Brock Harding is going to have to do his job facilitating the rock, averaging 5.7 assists per game. Nova doesn't play today. I'm not going over Nova. I'm just doing strictly today's games, but we'll talk about UPenn and McNeese later on in the show. Shout out to you for watching. Ohio State, they are led by Bruce Thornton. Bruce Thornton, 20.2 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and 1.2 steals. Absolute bucket. John Mobley, 15.7 points per game, and Devin Roy, 13.7 points per game and 5.7 rebounds per game. Now, for me, Ohio State's X factor is going to have to be Christoph Tilly. Again, they have the size advantage over TCU with Christoph Tilly and Amari Bynum. I think Christoph Tilly is going to have to dominate the paint for Ohio State to win this ball game, to help Ohio State win this ball game. He's averaging 11 points per game and 4.7 rebounds. I would love to see more than his average of rebounds today. But my winner in this one, and I went back and forth with this. When the game first came out, I picked TCU. But the more and more I slept on it, I'm like, I don't see Bruce Thornton going out his first game of his senior year, his only game. I don't see this being his only tournament game in his college career. This is last year at Ohio State. I don't think he want to go out with being one and done in a tournament. So I'm going Ohio State. Now, like I said, it's a tough matchup. Both teams hot coming into the tournament. Ohio State had some good wins coming into the tournament. They actually played Michigan really close in the Big Ten tournament before ultimately losing. But I just can't see Bruce Thornton going out one and done in his only tournament game. So I'm taking Ohio State in this matchup to move on. Next, we have Troy versus Nebraska. Now, some people love this upset spot. Troy is the 13th seed in their region. Nebraska is the 4th seed in their region. This game is 12:40 on True TV. So Troy, they're led by Victor Valdez, 14.8 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 4.6 assists, and 1.4 steals. And Thomas Dowd averaging 14.8 points per game, 10.1 rebounds, 1.2 steals, and 1.3 blocks. And Cooper Campbell averaging 12.7 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, and 4.2 assists per game with 1.6 steals. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Kobe Campbell and his three-point shooting ability, averaging 40.4% from the three-point line. So I think that may be big against the Nebraska team, who also can shoot the ball from beyond the arc. Speaking of Nebraska, they are led by Rink Mask, averaging 13.5 points per game, 5.8 rebounds. Price Sanford, averaging 17.8 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 1 steal per game. Sam Hoiberg, averaging 9.6 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game, with 2.1 steals. Now, their X factor to me, the X factor for me is Braden Frazier, scoring 11.6 points per game. I think his ability to put the ball in the basket, he's just a tough-nosed player, in my opinion. So I think Braden Frazier is going to be huge for Nebraska in the tournament. Wow, Nebraska has yet to win an NCAA tournament game since being a school. So with that being said, however, I do see Nebraska getting their first ever NCAA tournament win today against Troy. Nebraska been making history all year. Nebraska, first time being ranked in the top 10, first time being undefeated into January. They were like 20-0, I believe, at one point. So Nebraska's been making history all year, and I think this is another historical feat by winning against Troy. So I have Nebraska beating Troy and moving on. I could see people taking the points, though. I'm not mad at you taking 12.5 against Nebraska at all. But I do have Nebraska winning. Some comments. Somebody says, Braun Mueller, are you going to root for the Seahawks? Are you talking about UNC Wilmington? I do talk about the NIT. I got to see who UNC Wilmington plays next. I did pick Yale over them, but shout out to them for getting the dub. Wisconsin 11-0 against the spread in the tournament and 7.5-point favorites. I will be talking about, I think Wisconsin is later in this episode. Yeah, actually, we'll be talking about Wisconsin in 2 games. And shout out Joe. He's on the Refuse to Lose YouTube. He said, let's get it. Carl up early, giving y'all free picks for y'all bracket. Yes, sir. Next, we have South Florida versus Louisville. South Florida comes into this as the 11th seed. Louisville is the 6th seed. Louisville is actually favored by 4.5, which the line dropped. It was 6.5, but I believe due to the news of Michael Brown Jr. being out, not playing he's not playing. Even if they win, he's out for the whole first week or weekend, I should say. That's why I believe the line dropped. But South Florida, man, shout out South Florida. I've always, shouted them out. This is my third year rooting for them. Like I said, RIP Coach Abdul Rahim. Been rooting for them since that 14-game win streak 2 years ago when technically 2 years. Yeah, I would say about 2 years ago when they won the American but did not win the tournament. I've been rooting for South Florida. But anyway, South Florida, they are led by Wes Ennis. Wes Ennis is averaging 16.8 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, and 1 steal. Isaiah Nelson, the 6'8" big transfer from Arkansas State. He is averaging 15.7 points per game, 9.6 rebounds, 1.6 steals, and 1.4 blocks. And Joseph Pena, also a transfer from Arkansas State, averaging 14.2 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, and 1.7 steals. Now, for South Florida to win this game, they're going to have to score in bunches, and I think C.J. Brown is going to be a big help in that, being an X factor, averaging 11.1 points per game. So he is my X factor for today. Shout out to y'all in the comments. I'm going to read our comments at the end of this game. But Louisville, they are led by Ryan Conwell. Again, no Michael Brown Jr. He's not playing today. And if they win today, he's not playing Saturday. But Ryan Conwell is averaging 18.7 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, 1.2 steals. Javon Hadley averaging 11.8 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, and 1 steal. And Isaac McNeely averaging 10.6 points per game. Now, that X factor to me is going to have to be Sonata Frew. Sonata Frew is going to have to control the paint. He's averaging 1.4 blocks per game and 6 boards. I think he's going to have to help control the paint, help stop guys from penetrating, and he's going to have to help control that. Well, I don't know if he'll be on Isaiah Nelson or maybe Ali Khalifa might spend the few minutes he's getting, which I wouldn't do on Isaiah Nelson. I think Ali Khalifa is a little too slow-footed for Isaiah Nelson. Maybe they might try throwing a Javon. I don't know. I don't know what Louisville would do with Isaiah Nelson. But Frew was going to have to control the paint for Louisville to have a chance to win. But ultimately, going with the upset here, I'm going with South Florida to win this game for a couple reasons. One, again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Louisville struggles when they're not playing at Louisville. When they play on the road, they struggle. They're not terrible, but they struggle. I'll say that. Two, they lose Michael Brown, and obviously Louisville is a better team with Michael Brown Jr. on the floor as opposed to not being on the floor. That's pretty obvious. So I think that's a huge loss. And three, I think South Florida is a scrappy team. I think South Florida can score. They play defense. They can run. They are very scrappy, and I think that they can ruffle up Louisville. So with that being said, I am taking the upset here with South Florida over Louisville. I'm sorry, Pat Kelsey, but I am going with the upset. Shout out J Main 34, by the way, for being in the comments. He said, yeah, I'll be on the first half under here. I think he's talking about Troy and Nebraska. He says South Florida. He agrees with the South Florida win. Tough blow talking about Michael Brown Jr. And shout out Cardo saying we hear he has Duke versus Virginia in the championship. My bracket don't have that. That's all I'll say. I don't have either team in the championship. I'll say that. Next, High Point versus Wisconsin. High Point comes in as the 12th seed. Wisconsin comes in as the 5th seed. This game is at 150 on TBS. Now, High Point, when is the Big South? They are led by Terry Anderson, 16 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and 1.4 steals. Rob Martin, the transfer from Seamoose State, averaging 15.3 points per game, 3.7 assists, and 1.6 steals. And Cameron Fletcher, averaging 12.7 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. Now, I think the X factor for Wisconsin is going to be Owen Aquino. He's going to have his hands full dealing with the size of Wisconsin. I believe Nolan Winter should be back for Wisconsin. Austin Rapp is also a big that is huge for Wisconsin, can play on the perimeter, shoot the 3-ball, but he's also has size on him as well. Wisconsin has length, which is going to be tough for High Point to deal with, but Owen Aquino is going to have his hands full dealing with those two. For Wisconsin being the 5th seed, they are led by 2 dynamic guards, one being Nick Boyd. Nick Boyd averaging 20.6 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and 1.1 steals. John Blackwell averaging 19 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. And Nolan Winter averaging 13.3 points per game, 8.6 rebounds, and 1.2 blocks. Now, the X factor for me is Braden Carrington and his 3-point shooting ability. Took a little while to catch on in the Michigan game where they lost in the Big Ten championship game, but he's ultimately shooting the three ball at 40.2% from three. And as High Point is a team that likes to get out and run and score the ball, Wisconsin could neutralize that, knocking down some three balls with Rapp, with Boyd, with Blackwell, with Carrington, with Rude. So I think Carrington's three-pointer shooting ability will be big. But my winner, I said this before, I think Wisconsin is a team that could lose first round or they can make it to the Final Four. So I'm going with the latter. I don't think I'm not going to say they make the Final Four, but I'm not saying they're going to lose in the first round of this tournament. I am taking Wisconsin to beat High Point and to move on to the next round. I just think, man, Wisconsin is a really, really, really good team when on. And I think that they'll be on today. I think Nick Boyd and John Blackwell will have exceptional games. I think John Blackwell was not, no, who got, I think, was it John Blackwell? Yeah, I think John Blackwell got into foul trouble against Michigan, which kind of hurt them in the Michigan game. If, they stay out of foul trouble, they get hot. I think that's a lot to deal with High Point. So give me Blackwell and Boyd with Wisconsin and Wisconsin to win this ball game. He said this game should be a great one. I think it'll be a good game. I think Wisconsin will pull away late. 14-1 run for a High Point. I think he was talking about the Big South Tournament Championship, which they did go crazy against Winthrop late in the ball game to pull away. Next. Oh, I didn't even put this up here. My fault. Next, we have Siena, 16 seed Siena versus number 1 overall seed Duke. Duke. They are, not Duke. I'm sorry, Siena. First of all, my apologies. Let me get back in order. This game is at 250 on CBS. Duke is favored by 27.5 points. Forgot to put the minus sign. By 27.5 points. Siena, great story. Coach McNamara led them to a MAAC conference championship. Again, I wonder if Coach McNamara is at play for Syracuse, but that's neither here nor there. But Siena is led by Gavin Doty, who's averaging 17.9 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. Justice Schultz averaging, 13.2 points per game, 4.4 assists, and 1.4 steals. And Francis Fofak averaging 11.1 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game. Now, that X factor to me is going to be Brendan Coyle. Brendan Coyle is going to be big, eliminating second chance opportunities for Duke. Duke is without Patrick Nwamba. He is not playing in this matchup. I think they say he's out for the first weekend as well. But he's averaging 4.6 rebounds, going against a front line that is banged up. And Duke, Duke, they are led by me personally, the National Player of the Year. I think a lot of people have him as the National Player of the Year, him or Darius Acuff, but Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer is averaging 22.5 points per game, 10.2 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and 1.5 steals. Isaiah Evans averaging 14.9 points per game. Caden Boozer, who stepped up now in the absence of Caleb Foster, averaging 7.1 points per game. Again, stepping up in the absence of Caleb Foster, had an absolutely tremendous ACC championship game for Caden Boozer. Now, that X factor to me, I'm going to go Malik Brown. Malik Brown is a guy who's very, very good defensively. Okay, got you. Malik Brown is a guy defensively who does a lot. He's very good defensively. He play on ball, gets on ball steals, plays the pass lanes, get blocks. And I think him defensively in the absence of Patrick Nwamba would be huge. Has to stay out of foul trouble, obviously, because he can get in a bit of foul trouble because of the fact that he reaches a ton. He does reach in a lot, so that could possibly get him in foul trouble. But I think he is an X factor because of his defense. He is averaging 1.9 steals per game. But my winner in this, I'm going Duke. I love the Siena story. Happy Siena made it to the championship. To the tournament for the first time since 2010. But Duke is just an overwhelming force for these guys, man. Cam Boozer is an overwhelming force. They have nobody for Cam Boozer, unfortunately for them. And I think Cam Boozer is just going to have a crazy game. But give me Duke in this matchup. And I got you. Hold on. He said he liked the under here in the first half in Duke, first half under. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are. I'm not into that. So not into betting totals in college. I don't do that. That's kind of a slippery slope for me. I do bet, just not those. And he said, sorry to cut you off. Do you do other sports? Yeah. So this platform right here, my YouTube channel, is just college football and college basketball, but I do make appearances on the R2L network doing NFL, NBA. I touch on baseball a little bit. I ain't the greatest baseball guy. Like if you we have a show for that, and I make my appearances here and there. I could talk a little baseball, but I ain't the I know so much. Nah, I'm okay in baseball, but I do NFL, NBA, college football, college basketball. So I mean, I don't know if you're subscribed or not. I appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe. I would love for you to do so, and I appreciate you being in the comments asking questions. But we move on to, I believe that was you that brought this game up. Yeah, we move on to McNeese versus Vanderbilt. 12th seed McNeese taking on 5th seed Vanderbilt. Now, if you watch my Selection Sunday show, I did say this is a game I'm really intrigued in. This is a game that I can see McNeese winning. This game is 3:15 on True TV. Vanderbilt is favored by 11.5. Spoiler alert, I'm taking McNeese plus 11.5. I'm definitely taking that. But McNeese, man, McNeese is a team that can play 94 feet. They get up in you defensively. They have guards that can defend. Garway Doors, another guy that can defend. McNeese is a really talented team. Now, the thing with McNeese is scoring sometimes can be an issue, but they are really great defensively. McNeese, before I go, I always take it back to the second time that McNeese played Stephen F. Austin. I feel like if they could have scored in better spots, they would have probably swept Stephen F. Austin, but they didn't. But anyway, McNeese, they're led by Larry Johnson, averaging 17.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. Tashawn Archie averaging 14.3 points per game, 1.7 steals, and Javon Garcia averaging 12 points per game, 1.8 steals, which Javon Garcia, again, had a crazy Southland Conference tournament championship game at one point, outscoring Stephen F. Austin by himself. Their X factor to me, a name I already brought up in Garway Duel, played in the Big East, very good defensively. He helps with that defensive ball pressure. He's averaging 1.7 steals per game. I think he'll be big going against guards like Tyler Tanner and Tyler Tanner, and Duke Miles. He'll be good in trying to help slow them down. Speaking of Vanderbilt, they're led by Tyler Tanner, averaging 19.1 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 5.1 assists, and 2.4 steals. Duke Miles averaging 16.5 points per game, 4.5 assists, and 2.7 steals. And Tyler Nickel averaging 13.5 points per game. Now, that X factor to me, because they're not really beyond Nickel, Miles, and Tanner. They're not really guard-oriented. I went with Dwight McLaughlin because one thing Dwight McLaughlin has over McNeese, he has size and he has the height advantage over McNeese. So if he can, get the ball in the paint, he loves to shoot the perimeter shot as well. But if he can get the ball in the paint, turn, get to the basket, that will help tremendously for Vanderbilt. He's averaging 9.6 points per game, 6.7 rebounds per game. So if he can assert his dominance in this game, that'd be big for Vanderbilt. Now, my winner in this one, as much as I said I like the potential upset spot here, I did take Vanderbilt to win it. And I think the reason why I take Vanderbilt to win it is because of Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles. Duke Miles is such a dog, by the way. Tyler Tanner is quick. So that is one thing that can help with guards that really defend well is quickness, getting them out your business, getting by them, drawing doubles, getting to the rim. So I do think Tyler Tanner will have a huge imprint on this game. And if Tyler Nickel can hit shots like he did against Arkansas, Vanderbilt is very dangerous. So I'm going to take Vandy here, but I do love the points with McNeese here. Actually, I hope that they didn't take the points down. Like, I hope it's still at 11.5 because I did not place that. But it's actually at 12.5 now, so definitely taking it. But I am taking Vandy here. He said he subscribed. I appreciate you, bro, for subscribing. He said he loves McNeese here. And he said, me and you both, when I was talking about taking the points, and he said, give me all the slow pace and okay defensive teams. Okay. But we'll move on to next. My North Dakota State, Michigan State Spartans game. So as you can see, Michigan State fan here. So I am big. No, this is a big day for me because I've seen Michigan State disappoint, and I'm nervous. Seeing us be a 2-seed and lose to Middle Tennessee State. So anyway, North Dakota State, Michigan State. This game is at 4:05 on TNT. Michigan State is 16.5 point favorites in this matchup. Um, North Dakota State is led by Damari Wheeler Thomas, averaging 14.4 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. Travion Carson, he's averaging 12 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, and 1.9 steals. And Markai Strickland, averaging 11.8 points per game and 3.5 rebounds per game. Now, the X factor to me is going to be Noah Feddersen. He has scored in double figures 12 of his last 13 games. So he's going to be big if he can reach that double figure mark for the North Dakota State Bison. Now, Michigan State, they are led by obviously Jeremy Fears. And I ain't trying to hear it in the comments, but I know what he has done on the court, and I cannot agree with that. So I'm not one of those like, hey, man, Jeremy Fears did nothing wrong. No, I get it. Trust me, I do. But Jeremy Fears is averaging 15.7 points per game, 9.2 assists, and 1.3 steals. Shout out to him making second team All-American. Definitely well deserved for his play beyond, as for mentioned, characteristic issues. But Jackson Kolar averaging 12.7 points per game, 9 rebounds per game. And Colin Carr, 11.6 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game. Now, that X Factor to me is my X Factor all year. Yeah, he is. That's his brother. I see your comment. That's his brother. His X Factor, my X Factor, is Carson Cooper. He's been my X Factor all year. Him and Jackson Kolar has to dominate together. If Carson Cooper can give me something like 10 points, 8 boards, or even 8 points, 12 boards, something around them lines, I think Michigan State wins this, no doubt. He's averaging 10.8 points per game and 7.1 rebounds. Him and Kolar dominating will be huge. But my winner, man, I can't pick against my Spartans. I'm going MSU. I'm not feeling that pain this early. I hope not anyway. But I just think Fears is too good of a point guard. He'll get everybody where they need to be. Cohen Carr, I don't know if North Dakota State's seen any athleticism like Cohen Carr this season. Absolutely incredible athlete. And the emergence of Kurt Tane is something that I've loved to see late in the year for MSU. So give me Michigan State in this one. Oh, and by the way, I think Kolar has a great game as well. But I'll take MSU in this matchup. Said I heard McNeese undefeated if they're winning or tied at the half. I believe that's true, but I'm not going to say 100%. I know that's true or not. Izzo, MSU all day, 2 times on Thursday. I say 2 times on tournament day, baby. But yeah, I get it. Today's Thursday, so definitely shout out any relation to Jeremiah. Like I said, that is Jeremiah Fears' brother. Haven't been up on CBB this year, man. Hey, man, it's been a great season this year, college basketball. This probably been one of the best seasons I've seen in quite some time, to be honest. But we got to move on to Hawaii versus Arkansas. Hawaii, man. Hawaii is a really good Big West team. They won the Big West tournament against UC Irvine. They have guys like Isaac Johnson and Dre Bullock. I know they're going viral for their no help defense, but they better have some help today. Hawaii is led by, like I said, Isaac Johnson. Isaac Johnson is averaging 14.1 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks. Dre Bullock averaging 13.5 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, and 1.7 steals. And Harry Rulendeff averaging 10.8 points per game and 5 rebounds per game. Now, that X factor to me is going to be Hunter Erickson and his facilitation, averaging 3.8 assists per game. He is leading Hawaii in assists per game. He's going to have to handle the ball and put Hawaii in a ton of positions to score a ton of points, because this Arkansas team will put up points in a hurry and points in bunches. And that is due to, in large part, who people may have as runner-up for National Player of the Year between him and AJ DeBanza, and that's Darius Acuff. Arkansas is led by Darius Acuff, 22.9 points per game, 6.5 assists per game. Man is balling. He lead, like I said, he led the SEC in points per game and assists per game. So, man is balling. Malik Thomas, 15.4 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, and 1.4 steals. And Trevon Brazile, averaging 13.2 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, and 1.5 steals, and 1.6 blocks per game. Now, their X factor to me is my X factor for Arkansas all year, and that is Billy Richmond. Billy Richmond is super athletic, can shoot a 3-ball. He's just a problem for teams offensively. He's averaging 11 points per game. Man, Billy Richmond, I think if he gets hot, he gets going. Arkansas is tough to stop. Now, again, Arkansas is 15.5 point favorites. This game is on 425 on TBS. But my winner, I got to go with Acuff in Arkansas, man. I don't think Hawaii has seen a player like this all year. Acuff is the real deal. Now, as you listen, if you heard my show before, you heard me say I tend to not take teams who rely a lot on starter production. But in this matchup, I think the starters go crazy. Acuff, I think he possibly, I can see Acuff having another 30-10 game against Hawaii. Again, the real deal. I don't think that the tournament, the bright lights, is going to affect him because he just had the tournament bright lights and it was averaging like 20 something, like high 20s, low, probably 30 a game in the SEC tournament. Arkansas is hot. Again, they scored a ton of points. And so I'm going to take Arkansas in this matchup over Hawaii. He said this is the route. I think. I don't know. Oh, okay. Okay, I see what he's saying. He thinks this is a blowout. Got you. And then he said Acuff is the best player in the country. Hey, man, definitely up there. I'm probably going Cam Boozer in terms of the collegiate game. But Acuff a close second to me, man. But AJ DeBances also got a case. But I love Darius Acuff. I got him up there with all of them. But next, we have VCU versus North Carolina. Now, I am currently in Virginia, so I can't see if these odds have been updated. So as of yesterday, North Carolina was 2.5-point favorites. Somebody wants to look and update me, they sure can. But VCU, winners of the A10, found out that they wouldn't have made the tournament if they didn't win their tournament, which was kind of crazy. I thought they were automatically in. I thought Dayton was the only potential bid still there, but apparently not. With shout out Dayton. Again, they won by 20 last night. But VCU, they're led by Terrence Hill Jr., 14.4 points per game. Lazar Djokovic, the transfer from Charleston College of Charleston, averaging 13.5 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 1.2 steals. And Jadrian Tracy, the transfer from Oregon, averaging 9.9 points per game. Their X factor to me is going to be Barry Evans. He is going to be dealing with the UNC front court of Henry Vezar, which I think Lazar Djokovic would be dealing with the large part of Vezar, but Jaren Stevenson and Zayden High off the bench. So he is going to have to bring it dealing with those guys. UNC, they are led by Henry Vezar, averaging 16.7 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, and 1.2 blocks. Seth Trimble, 14 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, and 1.1 steals. And Jaren Stevenson, averaging 8 points per game and 4.4 rebounds per game. Now, again, UNC is obviously without Caleb Wilson, which is a huge blow. But they did do well without him once Henry Vezar returned, because I feel like North Carolina is a team led by their front court this year, which is ironic coming off last year. But my X factor for the UNC is Luka Bogovac, who's scoring 9.8 points per game on 3-point shooting of 35.9%, which that actually was better later in the year. But anyway, my winner, UNC. I know a lot of people love the VCU upset spot here, and I'm not too mad at it. But I just think UNC front court is going to be an issue for VCU to deal with. Seth Trimble is a really good on-ball guard. And if Zayden High can provide that scoring power off the bench, that athleticism getting to the rim, and if Luka can knock down open 3 shots, I think UNC is just going to be a bit too much for VCU, a VCU team that at times can have trouble scoring. So give me UNC to win this matchup. Got some comments and we'll move forward. See, he won VCU. I feel you with no Caleb, but I just feel like VCU, if UNC go on one of them runs, can VCU withstand it? That's my only issue, because I've seen games where VCU just get blown out because they can't score sometimes. They got some guys that can go. I do like Terrence Hill Jr. I do like Nick Lewis. I like Brandon Jennings, to be honest, but I just feel like UNC they better get past this round. If they don't, then Hubert Davis is gonna have to answer some questions. That's just how I feel. And thank you for that. You said 2.5 on most books. I'm gonna just keep it at 2.5. I mean, hey, you feel how you feel, man. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. If you feel like VCU could win, hey. And if you right, you right. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, I appreciate you for tuning in. But next, we have Howard, the 16 seed, taking on Michigan, the number 1 seed. Unfortunate, but very well deserved. This game is 7-10 on CBS. The Michigan is favored by 30.5 points, which is crazy, but I can also see them covering 30.5 points. Howard, shout out to Howard for winning their first ever first ever tournament game on Tuesday, beating escapes me right now. Howard beat UMBC in the battle of the DMV versus Baltimore. Shout out to them for being UMBC. Howard is led by Bryce Harris, who was the MEAC Player of the Year, 17.1 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game, 1.2 steals, and 1.1 blocks. Cedric Taylor averaging 17.1, also 6.7 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 1.3 blocks. And Cam Gillis averaging 10.5 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 1.7 steals. Now, their X factor to me is Osei Okoji, who's helping rebound, because they rebound by committee. They don't have the size for their smaller team in terms of college basketball. And he averages 3.8 rebounds, which I believe is fourth on the team. So he's going to have to help rebound by committee to eliminate second chance points, which Michigan gets a ton of. So that's that for Houston. Howard, Michigan, they're led by Big Ten Player of the Year, Yaxel Lundeberg, averaging 14.6 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and 1.2 steals and 1.3 blocks. Elliot Cadeau averaging 10.2 points per game, 5.6 assists, and Ade Mara averaging 11.6 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, and 2.6 blocks per game. Now, their X factor for me, it is Maurice Johnson. Maurice Johnson has to dominate the paint with Mara and Lundeberg doesn't necessarily dominate the paint, but he can. He's tall enough to. But he has to dominate the paint with Ade Mara. He's averaging 13.1 points per game, 7.2 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks. Again, Howard doesn't have the size. So if Mara and Maurice Johnson can establish their dominance in the paint, it's going to be a long day for Howard. And with that being said, I am obviously going with Michigan. Michigan is one of the best teams in the country. They've been playing like it. Only lost, 3 games on the year. One was to Duke, one was to Wisconsin, and then one was to Purdue in the Big Ten Tournament Championship game. So Howard, great feel-good story, but they just don't have the size to mess with Michigan. Ade Mara, shot eraser, he patrols the paint. He actually makes up for a lot of defensive lapses at times for Michigan, in my opinion. But give me Michigan here in this matchup. He says, you've been tuning in, not me. And he says, hey, 2-0 so far, Howard and Prairie View. LO, need to keep it going. I'm doing a parlay on CBB today, no singles. Hey, man, like you said, you 2-0, bro. The actual tournament been kicking my behind. So shout out to you, though, because thankfully I got the NIT. I've been doing really well in the NIT. But the tournament itself, boy, I always have trouble with the round of 68. But next, we have Texas versus BYU. 11th seed Texas versus 6th seed BYU. This game, I picked a winner. I don't even know who I still have to win, though. But with that being said, let's get into it. We have Texas, who is led by Dallin Swain, averaging 17.7 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, and 1.7 steals. Matas Vokaitis, who's averaging 15.5 points per game and 6.9 rebounds. By the way, I butchered his name, so I know I just butchered that one. And Tremont Mark, shout out Tremont Mark again, those 2 clutch baskets, tough baskets. He's averaging 13.6 points per game and 3.5 rebounds. The X factor is again going to be Jordan Pope, who is a bucket, who's averaging 13.1 points per game, because BYU again is without Richie Saunders, who is a tough and integral part of their offense. And without him being there, if Texas can find ways to run it up, it will be tough for BYU. But BYU, obviously led by AJ DeBanza. AJ DeBanza averaging 25.3 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 1.1 steals. Rob Wright averaging 18.2 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 1.2 steals. And Kiba Keita, who's averaging 6.3 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, 1 steal, and 1.7 blocks per game. He's going to have his hands full with Matas for sure down low. The X factor to me is Kennard Davis. Kennard Davis is averaging 13.8 points per game in his last 4 games. And the only game where he had 4 points, they lost. They went 3-1 when Kennard Davis had double digits. In that stretch, again, he had the 4 points and they lost. So I think he's going to be big. If he can reach double figures, that helps tremendously with the loss of Richie Saunders. It helps AJ DeBanza and it helps Rob Wright a ton. So with that being said, however, I took BYU. Again, this is a tough matchup. I can definitely see Texas winning here. I feel like Texas has more players that can score, while BYU has the best player in the game in DeBanza. But if DeBanza is off, Texas could win this. I just don't see them stopping DeBanza. And one thing I'll say about the NC State Texas game is NC State just didn't have a guy that could take over. That game, for the most part, was winnable for NC State, but they just didn't have a guy that can take over. If you keep that game close with BYU, AJ DeBancer can take over that game and win it single-handedly. So I think if the game is close, DeBancer takes over and brings it home for BYU. So give me BYU in this matchup. Next, we have Texas A&M versus St. Mary's. Now, Texas A&M is the 10th seed. St. Mary's is the 7th seed in their region. Forgot to write it down. This game is 7:35 on True TV. St. Mary's is favored by 2.5 points here. Now, Texas A&M been playing bad down the stretch. Can't lie to you. They are led by Rashawn Agee, averaging 14.7 points per game, 8.9 rebounds, and 1 steal. Rylan Griffin, averaging 11.6 points per game and 1.6 steals per game. Excuse me. And Ruben Dominguez, averaging 10.3 points per game. Their X factor is Marcus Hill. He's going to have to help scoring on a good St. Mary's defense. St. Mary's is a really good defense, and he's averaging 10.8 points per game. He's going to have to help put in buckets with these guys to help win. St. Mary's, they're led by Paulus Morauskas, who's averaging 18.8 points per game and 7.7 rebounds. Mikey Lewis, who had a career night in the WCC regular season finale against Gonzaga, he's averaging 14.2 points per game, and Joshua Dent, averaging 13 points per game and 5.7 assists with 1.6 steals per game. Now, that X factor to me is Dylan Shaw. He's going to have to be another ball handler to put the ball in the basket for St. Mary's. So I went with Dylan Shaw. But my winner, I'm taking St. Mary's. I think St. Mary's defensively can give Texas A&M some problems. I love Mikey Lewis' game. Mikey Lewis can shoot the 3-ball at a high clip. He can get to the basket. Joshua Dent can assist the rock. Austin McKeever is going to have to step his game up for St. Mary's. But also, Texas A&M has a tendency of giving up a ton of points, while St. Mary's is a defensive team. So give me St. Mary's to win this matchup. Next, we have Penn or UPenn. I'm sorry if it's not UPenn for all the alums. 14 seed taking on Illinois, who's the 3 seed in their region. 9:25 on TNT. Penn is led by TJ Power, who because Ethan Roberts is out for this matchup against Illinois, who is their leading scorer. So it will be TJ Power leading the way again. Averaging 16.8 points per game, 7.9 rebounds, and 1.1 steals. Michael Zanoni averaging 11.6 points per game, and AJ Levine averaging 8.3 points per game, 4 assists, and 1.9 steals per game. Now, their X factor to me is Augustus Gearhart, and I think he may play more minutes with the size of Illinois. Illinois is one of the tallest teams in the college basketball league in the country, so he may play an uptick of minutes just to help deal with their size. Illinois, led by Keaton Wagler, averaging 17.9 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 4.4 assists. Andrei Stojakovic, averaging 13.4 points per game, 4.6 rebounds. And David Makervich, averaging 13.4 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Tomislav Ivicic, again, helping to dominate in the paint against UPenn. He's averaging 10 points per game and 5.5 rebounds. He's going to have the height advantage over most guys, if not all of them, on Penn. So with that being said, I am taking Illinois because even for Illinois, I didn't even name Kyle Davis, who is a dirty work 3-point shooter. He does the dirty work. Kylan Boswell, who initiates the offense, gets to the basket, can score. So I didn't mention guys like that who's also integral parts for Illinois. So give me Illinois probably in an in a blowout against Penn. Shout out, though, that Fran McCaffrey took Penn to the tournament in his first year there. And he goes against Brad Underwood battle of Iowa, Illinois. McCaffrey was the Iowa coach. So it's like a Big Ten battle all over again. Obviously not with Penn being a Big Ten school. But anyway, I digress. We move on. And if you hear me starting to short it up, I do kind of have to speed it up a little bit. We move on to St. Louis. 9 seed St. Louis versus 8 seed Georgia in their region. Georgia is favored by 2.5 points per game. This game is 9:45 on CBS. Now, St. Louis started off super hot, but the reason why I didn't pick St. Louis to win the A10 tournament championship, which they did not, was because how St. Louis ended the year. They ended the regular season 3 of their last 6, losing 3 of their last 6. Which allowed VCU to tie them and win a share of the A10 regular season championship, and then they lose to Dayton in the semifinals off of a putback. So St. Louis down the stretch has not been playing good basketball. Now I'm not sitting here saying that Georgia's been playing lights out, but Georgia played I would say very well in a stacked SEC team. They had some good games, close ones with Tennessee. I believe they played or beat Kentucky. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but they had some good SEC run. Now St. Louis, they're led by Robbie Avila, averaging 12.9 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and 4.1 assists. Trey Green averaging 11.1 points per game, and Deion Brown averaging 11.1 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game. The X factor is Amari McCautry, who's averaging 10.3 points per game. He's going to have to put points on the board against Georgia, who got guys that can go. Speaking of the Georgia Bulldogs, they are led by Jeremiah Wilkinson, averaging 17 points per game, 1.6 steals per game. Blue Kane, averaging 13.3 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, and 1.4 steals, can shoot the blood out the basketball. And Santos Cyril, 9.6 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, and 2.3 blocks per game. Love his activity around the rim, both offensively and defensively. But my X factor for Georgia, and it was hard for me to pick between Marcus Millender and Cannon Catchings, but I ultimately went Cannon Catchings because Cannon Catchings, when he catch fire, it's tough to put out. That boy Cannon Catchings, I watched him last year at BYU, and I thought he was a phenomenal player. He is a player, like I said, he can catch fire, and it is tough to put out. He's averaging 12 points per game. He can shoot the three ball. He can attack the rim. Tough player to guard. So give me Candy Catchings as my X factor. But I ultimately picked Georgia to win just because the way St. Louis has ended the regular season and even lost in the tournament leaves a sour taste in my mouth. And so I can definitely see Georgia winning this ball game. Georgia would. Now it's gonna be tough. Robbie Avila, I don't know if they'll put Santos Cyril on him or not, because Avila, he's a big body, can shoot the three ball, he can play on the perimeter, he's a great passer. So I don't know if they'll put Santos on him or not. I think Santos can move his feet with him for sure, but Santos is best around the rim, erasing shots. So that's something I would love to see there. But ultimately, I love Georgia in this matchup. So give me Georgia to beat St. Louis. I almost say Indiana State because that's where he came from. But anyway, next. And we are on our second to last game. Kennesaw State at the 14th seed, taking on third seed in their region, Gonzaga, 10 o'clock on TBS. Now, Gonzaga is without Braden Huff yet again. He's still hurt. He's still out. While Kennesaw State is without Cottle, again, due to the whole sports gambling things, point shaving. He's allegedly accused of point shaving. And I say allegedly. But that's why I said it was a feel-good story for Kennesaw State, because they lost him in the midst of the season, came down and won the Conference USA Tournament Championship, and that's why they're here. Did not win the regular season title. That went to Liberty, who Liberty upset George Mason on Tuesday in the NIT. But in spite losing their best scorer, their best player, they are here in the tournament, so shout out to them. Now, Kennesaw State, they are led by R.J. Johnson, averaging 14.5 points per game, 4 assists, and 1.2 steals. Braden Liu, averaging 11.1 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks. Franquan Sherman, 10.3 points per game and 8.4 rebounds. And Jaden Harris is their X factor for me. He had 18 points in the Conference USA Championship game. He shoots the three ball at a 37.6% clip. If he can get the three ball going, I think that's going to be big for Kennesaw State. Now Gonzaga, they're led by Graham Ike, averaging 19.7 points per game, 8.2 rebounds. Tyon Grant Foster, averaging 11.2 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks. And Mario St. Superi, averaging 8.6 points per game, 3.6 assists, and 1.4 steals. Again, without Braden Huff. X factor is going to be Braden Smith. Leads the team in assists with 3.8 assists a game. I think that'll be big, the transfer from Colgate. But my winner here is obviously Gonzaga. I do think Kennesaw State is a good team, but I think Gonzaga is just going to be an overwhelming force here. Graham Ike is a tough cover for most teams. I think he's going to be a tough cover for Kennesaw State. And then you have a guy like Tyon Grant Foster who can get to the cup at will. I do think that Braden Huff, if he continues to be out, it will damage Gonzaga more in the long run. I just don't think it damages Gonzaga here. I'll take Gonzaga in this matchup. And lastly, we have Idaho versus Houston. Now, Idaho is the 15th seed in their region, taking on 2nd seed or 2 seed Houston, Houston is favored by 23.5. This game is 10-10 on True TV. This is the last game for today. Now, Idaho, led by Jackson Rasmussen. First of all, Idaho has not made the tournament since, 1990? So that is a big shout out to them for that. But Jackson Rasmussen is averaging 13.9 points per game, 4.7 rebounds. Colton Mitchell averaging 13.7 points per game, 3.9 assists, and 1.2 steals. And Biko Johnson averaging 12.4 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, and 1.1 steals per game. Now, the X factor is going to be Isaiah Brickner, and his scoring ability averaging 12.1 points per game, going against the Houston team who has guys that can score, but mainly they play defense. Now, Houston, they're led by the phenomenal freshman Kingston Flemings. Kingston Flemings is averaging 16.4 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, 5.3 assists, and 1.6 steals. Emmanuel Sharp, the shooter, averaging 15.3 points per game and 1.2 steals. And Milos Uzan averaging 11.1 points per game, 4 assists, and 1 steal per game. Now, the X factor to me is going to be actually Kristen Knack and not JoJo Tugler. Kristen Knack, he can score the ball. I would like to see him score the ball more today. But I'm really looking at rebounding and offensive rebounding for Kristen Knack Jr. today against Idaho. He is averaging 7.5 rebounds per game. I would love to see him be exceptional on the glass today. But my winner is Houston. I do think Houston wins this game. I think Kelvin Sampson is a really great coach. I think Houston plays the great defense today. Kingston Flemings might have one of those 20 to 25 point performances. I expect Emmanuel Sharp to be on from the 3-point line and Milos Uzan to run it all. So give me Houston in this matchup against Idaho. And that is all I have for y'all today for the round of 64. I will be back tomorrow at a later time tomorrow to go over the round of 64 for tomorrow. But I appreciate everybody who tuned in. Please like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. It helps the channel. It helps the network. Speaking of the network, we have multiple shows on the network. We have the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave, which goes live on Mondays and Thursdays. So today, between 7 and 8:30-ish. So check those guys out. We have Unfazed featuring Joe and AJ, which Joe told me yesterday. They are going live today, so make sure y'all check them out tonight. Next, we have BWT, Baseball with Teddy. I believe the regular season starts in 7 or 8 days. So tune in with Teddy, man. He's more content about to drop. He covered the World Baseball Classic. Make sure y'all tune in to him. We have FFC, Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Obviously, fantasy football season is long gone. Football season is over. UFL about to start. But Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs still dropping content, so just be on the lookout for that. We have RBO, Real Ballers Only. My Pistons play later tonight. Better not lose to the Wizards, please. And I hope Cade's okay. But tune in to RBO as he drops more content with the playoffs being around the corner. We have Dave's Doghouse, highlights and lowlights of sports. Dave, if we lose today, doghouse us. And last but not, we have In the Red Corner, boxing show. They go live on Sundays, not every Sunday, but when they do go live, it is on Sundays, and that's around 6:30, and that's featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo for all your boxing needs. Make sure you check out In the Red Corner. And the last show we have for y'all is the newest show on the network, and that is Zero Sports Talk with Griffey. I don't think he goes live. I think he drops pre-recorded episodes, so just be on the lookout for when those drop. And please like, comment, share, subscribe to those shows on the network as well. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. With that being said, I got to get ready to get up out of here. Y'all enjoy a great day of college basketball. The round of 64 is back. The tournament is back. But I'm gone. As my battery says, I need to be gone. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.